Hello learners, welcome to this lecture on basic introduction to spectroscopy. After this lecture, you will be able to define spectroscopy and spectrum. You will understand electromagnetic spectrum and basic idea of dual nature of electromagnetic radiation. Additionally, you will also be able to understand various phenomena taking place upon interaction of electromagnetic radiation with matter. Now, let's start with introduction. Spectroscopy is defined as the study of interaction of electromagnetic radiation with matter. Therefore, interaction between electromagnetic radiation with matter is studied as a function of frequency because whenever we record any spectrum, we scan different frequencies and record the response of the material under investigation for various frequencies of electromagnetic radiation. The spectroscopy mainly involves the exchange of energy between electromagnetic radiation and matter, where electromagnetic radiation, being the energy source, transfers energy to the atoms or molecules, and changes taking place in atoms and molecule as a result of the absorption of energy is recorded as a spectrum. Now, here is an electromagnetic spectrum consisting of various frequencies, energies, and different regions of electromagnetic spectrum such as radio waves, microwaves, infrared waves, visible waves, ultraviolet waves, X-rays, and the most powerful gamma rays. So, from left side to the right side of the spectrum, energy is increasing and wavelength is decreasing. Top scale indicates wavelength in meters, which is a unit of length. For example, radio frequency waves can radio frequency wave size can go up to 1000 meter. That is related to the size of any building. And on the other hand, the smallest gamma rays corresponds to the size of atomic nuclei. In the bottom, frequency scale is shown, which is expressed in hertz and ranges from 10 to the power 4 to 10 to the power 20. Now, we can clearly see as frequency is increasing, energy content is also increasing and wavelength is decreasing. Now, in the electromagnetic spectrum, there is a very small region corresponding to the visible region, and this is the only region to which our human eye is sensitive. Therefore, we are able to see colors of this particular region and cannot see other regions and are invisible to our human eye. The visible region mainly ranges from 380 nanometers corresponding to the violet region to 780 nanometer, which is a red region of electromagnetic visible spectrum. Now let's discuss electromagnetic radiation. An electromagnetic radiation is a form of energy propagated through space or through any medium in the form of electromagnetic waves. Electromagnetic radiation has both electric as well as magnetic pulse or waves that simultaneously oscillate in plane perpendicular to each other as well as to the direction of propagation. So to understand this, just have a look over the animation incorporated here. The axis of propagation is the x-axis, and to this axis both electric wave, which is represented as a blue color, and magnetic wave, which is indicated as a red color wave, are perpendicular to each other. So the electromagnetic radiation generally has a dual characteristic, and it can behave as a wave as well as particle. So this is generally a wave nature of any electromagnetic radiation. To understand the wave nature, waves are characterized by frequencies, wavelength, speed, and phase. Where frequency is defined as the number of waves per second that passes a given point in space. It is shown by symbol mu and expressed in cycle per second CPS or in hertz. Whereas wavelength is the distance between two consecutive peaks or troughs in any wave, symbolized by symbol lambda, and is expressed in units of length. For example, angstrom, nanometer, or micrometer. So from this image, we can clearly see the distance between two peaks or crust is the wavelength lambda, whereas one complete cycle of one wave corresponds to the frequency, that is 1 hertz, indicated in this picture. And both frequency and wavelength are generally related to each other through relationship lambda mu is equal to c, where c is the velocity of light. After rearranging this equation, we can get a new expression, that is mu is equal to c upon lambda. So velocity of light, we all know, is a constant term. So frequency and wavelength are inversely proportional to each other according to this relationship. So that means if any wave that is having a higher wavelength would be having a lower frequency, and any wave that has a lower wavelength would have higher frequency. So to get a better understanding of this idea, let's see one example. So in this picture, we have represented two different type of waves that are propagating. Upper wave is having a smaller wavelength, that means it has a smaller distance between the two peaks, and it has a higher frequency. Whereas in the below wave, we can clearly see as the distance between the two peaks is increased, the frequency becomes less. So it is clearly seen from this example also that high frequency corresponds to the smaller wavelength and less frequency corresponds to the longer or the bigger wavelengths. Now there is one more term called wave number, that is defined as a count of number of wave crust or troughs in a given unit of time, shown by the symbol mu bar. And mu bar is nothing, just mu upon c, that is frequency upon light velocity. And after suitable correction, this relationship can be converted into 1 by lambda. So from this expression here again we can conclude that wave number, that is mu bar, is inversely proportional to the wavelength. So wave number and frequency are proportional to each other, whereas wavelength and wave number are inversely proportional to each other. Now, as we discussed in the definition, that wave number mainly indicates the number of wave per unit of length. So therefore, wave number is generally expressed in units of inverse length. That is either by 1 by nanometer, 1 by centimeter, 1 by micrometer. So commonly we use 1 by centimeter or centimeter inverse. And we can convert any wavelength number and wave number by using this suitable equation. Particle nature. Now electromagnetic radiation can also be described in terms of particles of energy called photons. And the photons generally carry the energy that is represented by expression mu into h. So E is equals to h nu. And after substituting the value or equation of this frequency by c upon lambda, we can again correlate here that energy is inversely proportional to the lambda as well. So any wave that is having a higher wavelength will also will have a low energy. So final correlation stands like this, that whenever we any wave which is having a longer wavelength, that will have a smaller frequency, small wave number value, and small energy content, whereas any wave that is having a small or shorter wavelength will be having a higher frequency, higher wave number, and high energy content. So this equation mainly you can clearly see that it relates the energy of each photon to the electromagnetic wave characteristics that are mu and lambda. And one thing you can keep in mind is that the photon generally has the energy and they do not have any mass or charge. Now, what happens after interaction of electromagnetic radiation with matter? Now, to understand this, let's proceed. We have a sample to which some electromagnetic radiation is incident upon, and the light striking to the sample is generally called incident light. So electromagnetic radiation that is striking over the sample is called incident light. Now after incident light strikes to the sample, some processes generally take place inside the sample solution, and they can be like classified into different categories. The first thing anyone can observe is the absorption. So some part of light is generally being absorbed by the sample, and the spectroscopic method which is based upon this principle of absorption is called absorption spectroscopy. This mainly includes UV visible spectroscopy, IR spectroscopy, and rotational spectroscopy. Second phenomena that can be observed is the scattering. And whenever we observe the scattering of light, this leads to the another spectroscopic like technique or method that is called scattering spectroscopy, and this mainly includes Raman spectroscopy. And apart from absorption and scattering, The another phenomena that can be seen or observed is the emission of light. Now, sometimes when some sample absorb the light, after absorption they emit the lights of the longer wavelength, and that particular emitted light is called or known as a emission. An emission forms the basis of emission spectroscopy that mainly includes flame spectroscopy, atomic absorption spectroscopy, fluorescence spectroscopy, and phosphorescence spectroscopy. And finally, apart from these three methods or principles, the rest unabsorbed light that passes through the sample is generally called a transmitted light that reaches to the detector, and then detector compares the intensity of the incident light and transmitted light and give you the output. Now let's compare different electromagnetic radiations that are mainly exploited to like to cause the different type of changes in atom or molecule, and that makes the different spectroscopic techniques. And first is the gamma rays, and as and we can clearly see that when we go down from the gamma radiation to the radio waves region, the energy content is generally decreasing and the wavelength is generally increasing. So gamma rays are having a higher highest energy and lowest wavelength, whereas the radio waves have a highest wavelength but lowest energy content. So gamma rays mainly when they strike upon the sample, they causes nuclear transitions or changes in nuclear configuration, and that constitutes Mosebius spectroscopy method. X-rays causes inner shell electron transition and forms electron spectroscopy or Auger spectroscopy, whereas UV visible radiation causes electronic transitions in molecule, particularly valence shell electron transition is generally observed, and this makes electronic spectroscopy. Now, infrared spectral rays generally causes transition among vibrational levels in molecules, and it makes vibrational spectroscopy. Microwave radiations causes transitions among rotational levels and forms rotational spectroscopy. And finally, the radio waves. When radio waves strikes to the sample, they can cause changes in the nuclear or electronic spin in presence of external magnetic field, and this constitutes nuclear magnetic resonance (NMR) spectroscopy or electron spin resonance (ESR) spectroscopy. So we can clearly see that different type of radiation constitutes forms the different spectroscopic method, and the principle behind this spectroscopic method is generally shown under this heading processes, which are mainly observed after incidenting such radiation to the sample. Now let's discuss what is spectrum. In general, a spectrum is a plot of energy of electromagnetic radiation which is plotted on the x-axis, and the response received from the sample is generally plotted on the y-axis. Now the response can be in the form of absorbance, transmittance, emission intensity, or scattering intensity. And the peaks that are observed in any spectrum are normally seen due to the intensities of absorption or transmittance or emission or scattering. So therefore, in generalized way, you can say that spectrum is a plot or relationship between the response observed and energy of electromagnetic radiation used. Thank you.